Imagine doubling your income, not by working harder, but by implementing small daily habits. Habits are what change your life when you compound them over a long period of time. And in today's video, I want to talk about 8 small habits that have helped me quit my 9-to-5 job and will help you double your income and build wealth. If you're new here, my name is Alice and I am a chartered professional accountant, and on my channel, I help you make money, save money, and invest money. So do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Let's start with the first habit, which is probably the one thing that will double your income more than anything else here, which is to change the way that you think. I read in Jim Kwik's book, Limitless, that personalities are formed between the age of 25 to 30. It's a scientifically studied fact. So if you're watching this today and you're lucky enough to be in that age bracket or younger, I encourage you to read as many books about money and business as possible. Because of the way that people's brains developed in their 20s, it's very hard for any sort of behavioral change to happen over the age of 30, and people tend to live on autopilot after this. So here's my tip when it comes to reading. I encourage you to get Audible and Kindle, and my secret is that I like to put Audible on 1.7 or 2 times, and I like to listen to it when I'm doing lower cognition tasks at work, or I will turn on the Audible on while I'm reading. And I find that it really helps with my retention when I get to both read and listen to the words. When I'm doing higher cognition tasks for work, I will typically listen to more chill music. And so that is why they talk so much about money mindset or entrepreneurial mindset, because it's not really the way that most people are conditioned to think, unless you had parents that were business owners that did think this way and taught you how to think this way. And I happen to know this from general life experience. I've met many younger kids whose parents are quite well off, business owners themselves, and the way that they think and the way that they were raised to think is quite different. And as soon as they start talking, you typically know that they're going to be successful and have money no matter what they do or how they apply themselves. The next habit is a little bit cliche, but I found this to work actually. So I read this book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma many years ago. This was actually during the pandemic when we were kind of locked at home. I had nothing to do. And then I saw this influencer online talk about how they woke up at 5 a.m. and how, you know, waking up at 5 a.m. can make you a millionaire. And I actually ended up developing this habit during lockdown because we were working from home. I don't wake up at 5 a.m. every day, but I have done it for long periods and stretches, and I personally love waking up early. I really like getting a big chunk of work done before 7 or 8 a.m. It makes me feel extremely productive, and especially as a mother now, getting in that stretch of work right before my son wakes up is hyper productive for me. I would say that it's still an ideal standard that I work towards, but nothing replaces getting a full night's sleep for me. So I always prioritize 8 hours of sleep over what time I wake up. But if I get the opportunity to, I prefer to wake up early to get that morning stretch of work done. I think you guys would be surprised to know that despite being on social media myself, I actually don't really watch other content that much. I don't really watch other people's stuff. I don't actually really know what my competitors are doing other than for the things that actually matter. So as a social media person, I will check for other people's titles, ideas, their thumbnails, their camera angles, and their edit quality. On Instagram, I check the hook, the caption, the CTA, but I actually don't really watch the meat of the stuff, nor do I really care what is actually said or the content of what is actually said. And that's because I like to preserve my own energy as a creator. I feel like as a creator, when you watch other people's stuff too much, then you eventually subconsciously end up sounding like them and saying the things that they say just because you've consumed their content so much. And so when I'm working, I usually put my phone away, I turn off notifications, and I try to limit my screen time as much as possible. Another habit that I recently started trying that I really like is tracking my time. So I've used an app called Reeze. Not every single day, but when I have used it, I found that it really keeps me focused and productive. This is something I learned from other people, but it really helps you with deep focus and tracking your hours. And I don't know, I just find it really nice to be able to visualize and look back on how much work and output that I've done. One way I do this is just by looking through my Google Calendar, but when you go back and you look at your Reeze reports and you actually see how you ended up spending your day between meetings, between actual work, whether you ended up spending any time on social media or not. In a world of hyper productivity where everyone is trying to maximize every minute of their day, I just find it really helpful to have that information. One thing I've learned, especially as an entrepreneur, is that valuing your time is one of those things that is really on you to protect, because no one is really going to teach you or tell you how to value your time and your own schedule. Something that I've really had to learn over the years is setting boundaries with people when it comes to time. I personally do set call blockers on my phone to minimize distractions, and Yeah, I promise you there have been no actual emergencies that I've missed out on. And that's not personal, I just prefer not to be super reactive to my phone pinging all day long. And I just respond when I have time to respond. So paying yourself first every time you get paid is a super simple habit that I think is really transformational. Every time you get paid, this is something that I used to do, I would transfer money into my savings account as soon as that money hit my bank account. So if I got paid on Friday morning, I would go into my phone app, my bank phone app, and I would transfer money into my savings account. Before paying any bills, before going out, before going anywhere, before going on Amazon to buy something, before even thinking about how I'm gonna spend my money, I transfer it into another account. This is a habit that I think you can start off with even $50 or $100 if you want. Getting into the habit of paying yourself first, no matter how small it is, and training yourself to see whether you can build up that amount over time. The next habit that is huge for income and wealth growth is building relationships and networking. And this is something that I was taught in business school. It was taught while I was working my way through corporate, but identifying those people that can help you get faster to where you want to be, learning how to build goodwill with people, especially in the workforce, understanding how important it is to prioritize relationships and to never burn relationships at work, and overall just being a really good communicator, valuing relationships, being likable in the workplace, always saying yes to people when they ask, always being the first to put up your hand. I think these little small things really go a long way, especially in corporate. For myself, even though I didn't necessarily love the last few years of when I was working in corporate, I still was 100% committed to my job because I was there. I always went the extra mile to make sure everything was done to my standard because that's just my personality. And the last financial habit that will help you increase your wealth is paying off all your credit cards in full every month. So North America is a very credit-heavy society. In Western culture, we buy first and we pay later. Interest on credit cards is not only really high, but it also snowballs, and it's really hard to keep control once it starts accumulating on itself. Now that naturally leads us to the question, is debt always bad? I used to be the type of person who thought debt was always bad, but obviously as a CPA, I know that's absolutely not true. Debt is not bad if it's used to make money, and debt is not bad if you have control over your income. A lot of businesses use debt to grow, and a lot of rich people use debt to acquire more wealth. There's just risk involved. It's not necessarily good or bad, it's low risk or high risk. Now, there are definitely forms of bad debt. For example, if you were to purchase a sofa with a credit card and you don't pay off the credit card, I would consider that to be bad debt. But again, if you use that debt to make money, then it's really just a question of the potential return versus the interest rate. And depending on the context of the situation, the interest on that debt may or may not be able to be written off for tax purposes. If you like this video today, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. You're gonna love my other video in my Accountant Explains series where I talk about building a path for yourself to financial freedom. I'll leave a link to the video up top here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until next time.